Has a special meaning to me because I've gone out of my way to speak to as many people who are left-leaning as possible in order to try to understand what their arguments are. And I've found that most of them are considerate, thoughtful, intelligent people that are horribly misguided, which is fine. You know, we're all misguided, but if we come together, we talk to each other and try to work this out. She did a wonderful job at it because, you know, we all seem to be looking for the same things, you know, safety and comfort and joy in our lives. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest. Her name is Lisa Majors, and she's running Resilient Souls, which is an organization that caters to women who've been abused and hurt, and to try to rebuild people's lives and the way they see the world. So, if I could introduce Lisa Majors. Thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you. Hi, thank you for coming. This is so wonderful to see your faces, and appreciate you coming with hearing ears and open heart to see and hear our story. And in a minute, I'll be introducing my sister, friend, and participant in Resilient Souls, Norma. But first, I'll tell you what Mending the Souls does in our program of Resilient Souls. We work with an international healing program. They actually go into Africa, Congo, where there's 100% rape for females from the age 3 on up, and they restore survivors to becoming thrivers. And they also work with children, the youth that have been recruited to be army and kill and pillage, and they restore them too. So that's an amazing program. That's been really amazing for us to come alongside and learn the evidence-based trauma-informed care that we've been learning through that, and so we're able to produce and help it and bring it to our own community. So I grew up in the Bay Area, and in the Bay Area, we were a Catholic family. We had 5 in our family. My father was a teacher, taught nursing program, and I was the second to the youngest. The second to the oldest was one of my sisters, and she's 12 years old, decided it was a good idea with her girlfriend to sneak out of her bedroom and go to a party that she got invited to when she was about 12, 13. It was a horrible night. It was a nightmare for her, and so she was gang raped, and then she was taken to another apartment when she tried to beg to go home. And they didn't until they got done with her, and then they dumped her off half drugged and worn out in her front lawn. We didn't know what happened, and she would not speak. So my parents were often mystified whatever happened to her. The fellows that she was involved with ended up taking her a few weeks later out of state to another state for a couple of, I don't even know how long, because I was 8 or 9. I was witnessing this as a young lady, a young little girl, and what I saw was the anguish of my mom and dad through that time. She ended up being sex trafficked in the 70s and 80s into an Irish gang. It was like the Sons of Anarchy that you watch on TV, which is a cleaned up version of what she was involved with. They did extort and coerce my parents that if they put hands on her and took her away, that they would cause physical harm to us. So my parents were pretty much stuck. The police at that time thought she was wanting to be doing sex and selling drugs and being a part of this gang. So we were stuck in our Catholic family, in their church. The priests were really no help to it. And so my family and my parents just we walked alongside her life until she had freedom and stepped out of it when she was about 26, 27. At that point, she had 2 little nephews, and we continued to wrap our arms around her at her home and got her GED and then got her a career. And thank goodness she's pretty stable now. And my nephews are married and having their own kids. But we were stuck with tons of trauma, not only with her, but with the rest of us. It affected our whole family. We lost my oldest brother to that lifestyle on the edge, and he's still kind of struggling with some of the effects of that. I too was harmed in that environment, and that was part of my trauma of growing up. And then unfortunately, in the Bay Area as a college student, trying to step away from my family and launch off on my own, I ended up being assaulted. It was sexual assault, and it turned into a court case. So I got to see the victim side of it going through the courts. I was psychologically evaluated at that time. And that's what they did back then in 85, 87, through the courts, was to evaluate the victims. So I came away and they said, you have PTS. I don't say the D, that's a disorder. I believe that PTS is a symptom and a brain injury of trauma that needs to be healed. And that's, I am a thriver from trauma. And I stand with many others that we are here to show that you can recover. You don't have to stay in the victimhood forever. And so as I walked on through the rest of my life, I stepped into my own healing, because that was either you went on drugs or you got counseling. I picked the counseling one and had some great therapists through all my life that helped me step up and just grab hold more of my life. So I'm very grateful to that. I am married and I have 2 kids, and my goal is to break that chain. In our family, we had 3 sisters. That was one of me and 2 of my other sisters. They were 100% victimized. I went to a psychologist at one point, and he said, Lisa, you need to look back in your history. There's something going on here. It's very unusual to have 100% of females victimized in your family. There's something going on here. So I really pressed into that over time. My mom never really talked about it. My dad did. He came over as an immigrant. His father came over as an immigrant, and they grew up in New Jersey. He was born in New Jersey, and he ended up being raped as a young kid, unfortunately, and mafia infested. And so we had that one. I finally, in talking to him, stepping into my own healing, he was able to talk about more of his life, and thank goodness I was able to walk alongside of part of his healing, which is a beautiful thing. So I had 2 generations back, and then and what brought our family over from Austria-Hungary was also violence and rape. And so I had a 3-link chain there, generational. My nephews and nieces at that time, before I had my kids, all were affected too. And that's what we find out. If people don't step into healing their trauma, finding the narrative, and walking it through to a place of resolve, they walk around with targets on their back. And so that's the reason why I came up with launching off Resilient Souls. Not only does it continue my own healing, but we also bring healing and hope and joy to others. So with that, my kids now, and I knock on wood, pray to God, well, however you want to say, my children are married and have kids, starting their own families themselves. And so far, we have broken the chain. So I just pray that continues. And that's my pressing hope for all of those here that might be affected with trauma. Trauma really hits everybody. About 65% of the population is affected by trauma. You wouldn't think that, but it's hidden everywhere. And so, so Resilient Souls comes alongside people in healing groups and also trainings and workshops for men and women. We have an active men's group going on right now, and we deal with multiple victims of anybody affected by trauma. So adult children trying to heal their own trauma, military we are longer community, safe community from people who have graduated from Mighty Oaks. Criminals, victims from criminal violence, we walked alongside those. We advocate in court, we walk them through medical, we mentor them and just help them walk through into finding that freedom. So I'll introduce Norma. I don't want to take too much of the time with the other one, so I'll jump right in. First, before I bring her up, I'm going to play you something. If I could get it going. Okay. So this is a video that was taken in Pastor Robles' bathroom at the high school. Trying to shut it off here. In January 2023, two girls fighting, one in a gang, the other one maybe going into the gang. And what we're finding out is as I step and walk alongside the caregivers, I come alongside those that have daughters that have been raped or daughters that have been getting involved with sex trafficking, or I'm dealing directly with the sex trafficking survivor or assault survivor. And then they're having kids too. So we're seeing a generation. So we're trying to step into the second generation and try to bring a difference. So coming alongside those that are caregivers is vitally important. And it's going to reaching out back to our youth and hopefully bring them a hope and a newness. So this was what I'm finding out right now. We're dealing with survivors and their children. So their children being bullied, their children being stalked, their children being harassed from not only from their peers, but also sadly authority figures that are coming around and in their weakness or untrained abilities, not knowing how to come alongside those that are dealing with trauma. So this is happening now in our high schools and our elementary schools. So youth are coming. I've spoken to several youth that have said, I'm getting hunted or harassed or threatened by the gang to get pulled into the gang. Gang is an active force here. I was attacked in college by a gang. My sister was recruited by a gang for sex trafficking in the Bay Area. Gangs are definitely active here. They're selling drugs. We're having children die from fentanyl. They're coming over the border and they're affecting our community. And I'm reaching out and saying, we need to wake up and we need to stop this. We need to get smart and really pull together as a strong community and make a difference and take a stand. So I met Norma about 2017, and I'll let her tell her story.
Well, thank you for being here. And, before I talk, thank you for the prayers, because that's how I'm here, for you guys' prayers. Even you guys not have idea who I am, how I look like, but thank you. For your guys' prayers, that's why I'm here. You guys saved my life. Sometimes we pray and, we don't know if something's happened, but definitely that was the prayers. I'm here. I come since 98 to San Diego. I have to run away for the gang people, and definitely I'm not gonna be here. I'm not the people like come here, and want to be here. I have to be forced to save my life. So, since I've been get trafficked, been a lot of things going on in my life. And before I'm not even know, God is real. But now I really want to say it's real because when I met Lisa, that's when I start living. And many of people here, I put people's name and I say hope, because that's what I have now. I have hope. And wow, she's not only an agency or Lisa. Now I feel like she's my mom, she's my sister, she's my grandma. I never have a grandma. She's, sometimes I feel she's my father. And this is not only a person or an agency. This is God's hands, and thank you so much for being here. And now my son, he got into, again, trying to recruit my son. So now I say enough is enough. And I really want to make the change. So, and I'm looking for help, ideas, how to stop crying. Because since I've been all my life been stuck and be quiet, because mostly people say be quiet, not say anything, scared. But now you know what, I'm not scared. I'm not alone, because now God is with me. And this beautiful lady and all the ladies I met, and this wonderful man, he started, willing to help my son, because my son, he need help. And I don't have any family here in this area. So, thank you for being here again. And, before I don't know human being. I know human beings are bad people. Because I don't know, I never have good people in my life. Not even my mom, not even my father, not even my grandparents. But now when I see people here sitting, I feel this is good people. I start find the kindness in human being. I start feel like human beings are so interesting and good. Every single day when I'm walking, I feel how beautiful human being. Because since 2019, I had the opportunity to live again. So I forget my past, and that's how I've been doing this. And a year and a half, my brother got killed for the gang in Mexico. So I decide I'm not going to cry. I decide I'm not going to be miserable, because my brother, he's gone, but I'm still alive. I'm still have 2 kids, and I still have my community, because now I'm not even count Mexico. I count here. This is my community. This is my home. And I really want to speak up, and I'm going to say stuff these bad people. And thank you. I love you everyone now.
So yeah, in 2017, one of our friends met Norma in a store, and then saw and started talking with her and prayed for her. And then she started an anchor of bringing her more into our community to wrap our arms around her. She was sold for sex trafficking in San Diego, and then resold to a person here in a winery, and bought and kept for a while. She ran for her life several times, and she reached out, luckily, to good people that ended up helping her. So she came back here, not really wanting, but this is where she knew people would be able to help her. And so she connected back here. So we're wrapping our arms around her and her children. She is a citizen last September 2022. She became a citizen. Yay. So proud of her. And she worked really hard to do that. And she did it of her own efforts. So proud of her. And that's what we stand for. We come alongside that, find out what they want, find out what their dreams are, and really want to give them an opportunity and the support to have their voice heard. Because when you hear victims' voices, the true victims, not the victimhood out there that you hear, but the real victims that are speaking and crying out, we can really change our community because we're addressing the roots of what's wrong, and how to fix it really comes from those that have experienced it. And we can put our finger on the problems and really directly help it. So that's what we do. I work with the Human Trafficking Task Force, and I've been CSEC trained for multiple trainings all the time, training. CSEC is Children of Sexually Exploited Coalition, just like my sister and many others. So I keep up that. And then when I was in my healing program, I came from the Bay Area, moved here thinking I was going to become a graphic designer, illustrator by my trade. But my injuries came back to haunt me. So scar tissue grows. When you bleed out inside your cavities, scar tissue happens. So I ended up having my jugulars being strangled with scar tissue. So I ended up going through several surgeries to open that up and give me back my blood so I could be here speaking with you. But that gave me an opportunity to have a lot of bedtime and reading time. So I ended up doing a lot of theology study, went into that, and clinical psychology in a master's program, and step into my own healing. So that's how come I'm doing what I'm doing. And then we, walking onto the schools, I'm very concerned. Every time I walk onto the campus, I see trauma, not only with the kids, but also how the teachers and the administrators are handling them, and especially with COVID, that just exploded everything. We were working without masks. I did not believe in the masks. I don't believe in covering up people's voices. And when you put masks over a survivor, that's them feeling like they're being, again, without a voice and being silenced. So we just kept on walking through those years. I believe the test scores are down in our schools because of the undealt with trauma. They've taken art out of school. They've limited the sports. They've taken the music. I hear they're bringing it back now. I'm very happy about that. And then they brought in a lot of distractions that instead of coming alongside the kids in a real way, but and not addressing the trauma. So the kids that I come around, the gangs are actually recruiting them. They start at 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and they start tagging them and then putting documents and files to follow them. And when they get in high school, they start beating them up and telling them to pick sides. Our police need to look at this, and our school officers need to look at this, and not in a real way, and not be hiding it anymore. And so I'm urging the schools and the police force to be more trauma informed. I'm on the steering committee for trauma informed care with the county, and I'm hoping that we'll be launching to be teaching people how to come alongside those that are trauma and see trauma responses when a kid does have a fit, when you see the red flags that are not being caught, and then those red flags turn into burning flames because they have decided to take violence action because they're not being heard, not being addressed, is when we've really missed the mark. I had an experience last week with a woman that we heard some concerning news, and we wanted to let the school and the police know that there was a kid struggling. He had been struggling and not wanting to be part of the gang. He was recruited into the gang. He still did not want to be the gang. He was suicidal, and he was making threats to take care of himself and others. So us as responsible citizens called the police. Sadly, instead of addressing it, we were interrogated. What didn't go well. Yes.
I have a question for Norma.
Yeah.
I heard her, I believe, say that you might run for school board someday. Seriously, so I think you'd make a great candidate.
Yep. We're gonna grow her up, support her. So, I think I just really want, I don't know what to do next, except for just keep on speaking and just keep on going on and talking about this. I know what I bring is a hard subject. It's a very, very hard subject. I say we end up dancing in the devil's playground, and it's a hard subject to walk through. But we need to wake up. We're losing our community and the safety of our community. So with that, do you want to?
If you'd like to answer some questions, I'm
Sure.
sure there's some people out here would love to ask a few questions.
Any questions?
Who interrogated you and what did you go through?
Oh, hang on a second.
It was over a phone conversation. And so we didn't have the information that they were looking for, and we let them know we didn't have that information. And it just, their style of not listening, but aggressiveness and talking over you.
You mean the school
And
staff?
Well, that's another subject. But the officer was just, instead of hearing us, it just became, so I followed up with another phone call the next day to the vice principal assistant, and again, another officer was there, and he informed me, yeah, we were interrogating you. And I was like, why? I'm coming as a community service. I'm a collaborative partner. And he goes, no, you're not. You're not a collaborative partner. We were interrogating you. And it was like, what did we do wrong? So there's something missing there. And I know probably they need more trauma-informed care training. But also the school, it's a closed system. So you do not get answers. You do not get transparency. You do not get they are not addressing the issue. Their response that there's no gang issue here, it's more of just cliques. And I can't find the difference between a clique and a gang. A gang probably is more violent, but we're dealing with violence. We had a student twice being beat up. The second time, took him to the emergency room. Both times he said, they're trying to recruit me and telling me to pick sides. We have videos of kids getting beat up, not only on school grounds, but on grounds around the school. And they're telling the kids, you gotta pick sides, Sorrentos or Nortes, LSB, I think it is, or GLC is their lower gangs, and then PR13. And some of the kids are wearing the outfits too when they get recruited, even though they don't want to. A lot of them don't want to go in there, but they're forced to go and wear the colors at least for one day, and then they'll get suspended and sent home. Or if they're protecting themselves from being beat up by the gang, they're they're suspended along with their attackers. Some of them have said I knew they had a knife on them, and then the school listened finally after they came back from suspension and searched the people, and sure enough, they were holding a knife. And that leads to expulsion for that person, that student, which is correct. Like with your son, her son, he has been threatened to death. And so we are keeping him home safe, and we decided to homeschool him. So we're wrapping our arms around him and helping that family be homeschooled at this point.
Lisa, can you explain to your buddy how you met Kenny and how he got involved in the whole 3 meetings that he was able to attend before the teachers union went after him? Tell that
So we were, the second time Norma's son was being hit by the gangs, and it took him to the emergency room with stitches. I didn't know what to do, so I started calling around to our community, and everybody said, start talking to the school board. So we talked to Frank and we talked to Kenny. Kenny came alongside and started meeting with Norma. There's a great connection there. He has a great heart for kids. He also has a great experience knowing what we're dealing with. He had some great questions for her and concerns and how to keep her safe, her family safe, because she is living in an apartment complex where some of these gang kids are, and she was harassed even today. Yes. And daily, sometimes every other day or every 4th day, she's getting harassed by the gangs as she's walking to and from. So the family is hiding out in that apartment. We're looking for a safer place for her to live right now. But so Kenny came alongside and met with us. Kenny met with the school and a whole big group and talked about it too. And then all of a sudden we had a problem. We're losing Kenny, our one guy that was helping us. And that was kind of shocking for us to see that the one person that knew exactly, because I don't know your military experience, but I think he has helped people like Norma. So I deal with a lot of immigrants coming over, and it's cartel, it's drugs. I have one of our participants, her son got killed by fentanyl. That's coming over our border too. And so a lot of it is a problem. Yes.
Okay, so Lynn and I, obviously, we first came to the Central Coast and we were in Santa Maria. That was when the population of Paso was around 6,000 or 7,000. Population of Paso has obviously grown, and Santa Maria was 32,000, about the same size as Paso is right now. Over time, we were very young, and we saw the growth of gang activity in the Santa Maria Valley. And what brought that in that circumstance was a large inculcation of foreign nationals, primarily from Mexico and Central America, to work in the fields. And what we saw happen very quickly was a dramatic increase in gang activity. Mm-hmm. The gangs began to, and I'm going to get to a personal story so everybody understands. This is personal to me and Linda. And so over time, we saw this activity really grow. And then when our youngest went into high school, he wanted to go to Santa Maria High with the same school that his brother and sister graduated from. And so we said, he could have gone to Rigetti, but we said, okay, you want to go there, fine. Well, it got to the point where he was being recruited heavily to get in the gang. You don't know my son. That wasn't a good thing to do, because I had to go after getting a call from one of the counselors there and one of the teachers that I had to come and get him, because the gang had decided that it was one day that they were going to hurt him. And so what did Jesse do? Jesse hurt the guy bad, put him in the trash can. And so I was called in order to get him out of there. So my question is, we had a gang task force that was developed in the Santa Maria Valley, the sheriffs and so forth. And from what I understand, the gang task force has now been removed from the city of Paso Robles and the city of Atascadero. I don't know if that's a fact. I know it is in Santa Maria or in Paso Robles. The sheriffs, do they have a gang task force? Do these other cities have a gang task force? If you'd want to educate the people here as to what the answer to that is, and how we move forward in getting the city managers as well as the city police chiefs to understand this is a very serious problem, and it starts small, but then it grows. It's a cancer. And so people have to be aware of that and understand this is very serious.
Yes, it's very serious. So I work with Mending the Souls. Bridging the Gap is another organization I work with. Mending the Soul is founded in Arizona and Portland. They started the justice movement for sex trafficking back in 2010, 2012. Back then, Portland was like the lead runner. The first human trafficking task force, I think, was in Portland. Look where they are now. It's gone. It's devastated. I still really have huge connections with the Portland, their law enforcement and their human trafficking workers, and they are devastated. There's a couple mistakes that the agencies, the district attorneys made, and it kind of wiped out some finances, but what came in was the opposition, and so they will attack, they will destroy, and they will take away what we are forcing, and we do not work together. We stay independent and doing our own thing. We don't collaborate with each other. You know what the enemy does? They all work with each other. They can cross over boundaries. Yeah, they have territories, but they work with each other and they pool money. We don't do that. We need to start working with each other. So we rescued 2 ladies from Santa Maria. There's tons and tons of layers of corruption there. We've heard stories that I don't even want to repeat here. We had to transfer them to another state to be safe. So I would not go down to Santa Maria, and I'm told I shouldn't ever go over into Santa Maria, especially if they know who I am and what I do. So we do rescue runners. Usually they do not want to get involved with the police or any kind of law enforcement. They've seen too much corruption. Judges, mayors, chiefs, police. So
This is a long conversation.
it is.
That definitely needs to be done. We're running short on time here, so I
Okay.
don't want to, I don't want to force you out. But is there
No.
something that you can tell our audience here that they can do tonight to help with this situation?
Start talking and asking the police to, especially the Paso Robles police, to join the gang task force. And the gang we have to recognize that the gangs are not gonna look like your typical Hollywood gangs. They blend into everyday life. They come through, marijuana growing, they come through, of course, drugs and sex and rock and roll. But yeah, we need just to network with people. If you want to get more trained on how to do this, come and we can train you or connect you up with people that can get you further trained.
Thank
And
you
we
so much.
just need to network. Have more meetings.
Definitely, yes. Thank you. Norma, go ahead.
Well, you know what? Before I say goodbye, all my life I was feel like, why me? Because I had a really abusive father. So I always think, why me? And the whole time I was feel like, I'm not blind to here. I wanna die. That was, all in my mind and my heart. But guess what? I always ask people, I say, why me? When I start have like therapy here, ain't nobody answer. But now I had the answer. I said, thank you, Lord, you choose me because I have to go through, I have to feel what it feels like to be, all that past. So now I really choose, like I said, thank you, Father, because you choose me. Now, since with all this happened in the school, nobody know before because police, everyone, they really wanna hide everything. But now I'm here to speak up. And whatever I have to do, and you know what, whatever gain, I'm not scared anymore because I'm not alone. So that's why I say thank you. God shows me.
And I was just thinking, one thing I really want to push for the schools is having a physical person monitoring the bathrooms. At the schools, each bathroom, they have a monitor. They say they have sound monitors, they have smoke monitors, they have all these different, they even say they kind of sort of have the video, but nothing gets intercepted, nothing gets immediately responded to. It's always the aftermath, but if we could catch it when it's happening with trained, licensed, I don't know how we could do that, but there has to be a way that we can have people there. I think more adults, qualified adults, screened adults, to bring more compassion and care and eyesight to the kids is really important.
Well, you're talking to the right group here. Thank you so much. Everybody give her a round of applause. Thank you, Jim. I think that's a very appropriate name, Resilient Souls, because there is the resilience there. And I think you're talking to the right group here. We're very active in getting things changed. You said that there's a coalition of money among gang members and groups like that. And we have a huge amount of money that is pooled together. It is just massive amounts of money that's pooled together. Unfortunately, it goes to the government. And they are very good at not doing very good. So I think that the people in this room are hear you, and that we're going to see some efforts taken to help you out, okay? So thank you so much. All righty.